G'day guys, Dobbo and Kev here from the Inside Ball. Kratzmann's Caravan RV Super Centre are our major supporters of Inside Ball. And coming up to the end of the financial year, they've got a deal for you. Caravans, motorhomes, RVs. They've got the lot. You just head out to Burpengary on the Bruce Highway. You've been there, Kev.
Right.
And for 40 years...
Superstore, Dobbo.
Yeah,
it's a superstore.
They've been the leaders for the last 40 years. Do you know they've got, with these end of financial year sales, up to $20,000 off different caravans, motorhomes. Not all of them, but you go out and tell them you want to do a deal, tell them you listen to Inside Ball, they want to sell you a motorhome, a caravan or RV. It's that easy. They're a super centre. And when you go to super centres, funny things happen. Magic. And that's what will happen out of Kratzmann's. They will create some magic for you and your next destination. Kevie?
Yeah.
You've loved pulling a caravan. Grab your caravan, hook up, back the car in, hook the caravan up,
Away
head
you go.
west. Just head west, my friend. Go up of Roma, you go to Mitchell, go out to the Mighty Magpies, go to the Woolscour at Blackhall, out to Longreach, Ilfracombe, go and have a look at, I've got my hat, but my hat is pinned in there at the Wellshot Hotel at the Ilfracombe.
Is it?
Yeah, you just take your Kratzmann
Who
Caravan
pinned it
there.
there?
Oh, the publican there. It was a good hat as well. It was a Charlie One Horse. It happened in 2011 when I was on the footy show before I got sacked. Anyway, that's enough. Kratzmann's Caravans. There's RV Super Sale. End of financial year sale. Up to $20,000 in discounts there. Go and tell them Dobbo and Kev sent you from Inside Ball. Just remember, Kratzmann Caravan. The best there is.
Righto, we've got another special edition here of the Inside Ball. This guest, he's our tallest guest so far, Dobbo.
Yeah, I think he is. He's bigger than LT. LT was our tallest guest.
Yeah, I love playing with this fella at the Broncos. Unfortunately, his career was cut short with some injuries, but please welcome Paul Hauff. Hauffy, how are you, champ?
Yeah, good. Thanks for the
Good
invite.
to see you.
Kev.
You know, one thing I remember about you playing, you're always smiling, mate. You've always got a smile on your face. You're a policeman. What are you now, a senior sergeant?
No,
or?
just a sergeant.
Just a
mate.
sergeant.
Yeah,
Well, he's a senior sergeant now. He should be. When's that coming up, senior sergeant?
I'm done, mate. I've only got 4 and a bit years to go. So,
Right.
yeah.
What a career you had, though, mate. It not only on the field, but off the field as well. We'll talk about your on-field stuff first at the Broncos.
Well, that'd be
From
short.
Cairns. You grew up in Cairns.
Yep. Well, I was born in Bowen.
Right.
1970. Good year. Then Dad was in the court system, so we moved around a bit and ended up in Cairns. And then we moved to the Gold Coast from there. And then I went to the police academy from there.
Right.
So,
But how'd you end up at the Broncos then? How'd that all...
well, I was playing at the police academy, and we back then used to, because I was a cadet, you're there for 18 months. We played in the universities competition against all the other unis in the, around Brisbane. And at the end of the year, I was fortunate enough to get the Player of the Year in that competition, and Nuss, Brian McGrath, was my coach.
Oh, was he? Does he?
The great Norse.
Yeah, and he got, Wayne Bennett came out to the presentation night, and then Wayne said, can you come outside for a second? I went outside, and he just said, there's a few blokes in there that reckon you play all right. And it's a bit of a shock because I'd never played rep footy or anything when I was growing up, and then he just said, I'd like you to come and play for the
Broncos.
Bronco Colts next year.
Right. So what year was that, mate?
That was
You remember?
1988.
Right.
And he said, the club was a bit different, man. He said, come to the club next week, next Thursday. We'll have lunch and we'll have a chat a bit further. So I got this bloke that I used to work with. He drove me in and we went to lunch at the old one level Broncos Leagues Club. And that was it, yeah. And I think I'd signed for $2,500.
How good. Were you a fullback at that stage?
I always played junior footy. I was always in that. Well, when I was under 10s and below, I was always in the front row or second row because I was tall. But then I went to the centres and wasn't the best tackler. So ended up at school, played a bit of fullback there. But still
what school did you go
to? Went to St Augustine's in Cairns.
Yeah.
And Aquinas College down the Gold Coast.
Right.
Hey, where's the height come from in your family? Because you're very tall, and when you look at fullbacks, like Brett Mullins was tall. He was a very tall fullback, and Hauffy, I think you would have been taller than Brett Mullins in that sort of era. But normally, traditionally, you don't see fullbacks of your height. So where's the height come from?
Well, the old man, he's passed on now, but he was He was just over 6 foot.
Yeah.
But I got a brother that's 6'8", younger brother. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
Does he play basketball or something?
No, he used to like golf, and he's
Right.
pretty good. He looks after. He's actually a greenkeeper down the coast. Looks after a couple of Clive's courses.
Right.
Yeah,
So, yeah. So the height. That's where it really came from. I got tall. I got 4 sisters. Most of them are pretty tall too. So yeah. I don't know. Maybe. What do they say? Standing out in the cow paddock.
Yeah. So what happens? You joined the Broncos in '88.
Yeah. Colts. So it was the end of '88. I got signed. Played Colts in '89.
Yeah.
With Plavy and Alan Cann.
Yeah.
Willie Kahn. We had a pretty good team.
Yeah, you got on well with Willie. He was one of your good mates.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Willie was best man. He was a bit slow, old Willie, fast but slow. But he was one of those guys that he'd always invite me around for dinner when I first went. Yeah, because he was from the country and I sort of didn't know him because I didn't come up through the grades in Brisbane. And we just clicked, got on really well. I was caught up with him not long ago.
Where's he from, Roma? Willie Kahn from Roma. Yeah, so country boys, you get it. So talk us through '89. You play Colts, and there's a real foundation of Broncos legends. Kevie and obviously, those guys were still coming, but there was that core group of unbelievable Colts. And then '90 was sort of your breakout year. Am I right in saying that? Like you played. Were you still working in the police force at that stage?
Yeah, I worked most of the time. I had 6 months off in '91.
Yeah,
and that's when I was thinking about giving
police force.
Yeah, or both, or one or the other.
One or the other.
I was having trouble balancing the doing the training. So yeah, '90 was the breakout year. I was playing reserve grade under Billy Gardner,
yeah.
And then there's a few injuries, I think, and then I was playing on the wing back then in reserve grade. So a few of us got graded from the Colts into reserve grade the following year, and then I remember I got a call one morning, and Wayne sort of told me I'd be. Yeah, I didn't believe it was him on the phone. Because I'd only played half a dozen reserve grade games, and then he said, "Oh, you're going to be coming to Newcastle. You're playing fullback."
Yeah, I remember it vividly because it was you and Willie Kahn, wasn't it?
Debut games.
Yeah. How was that for you? Was that like were you a Broncos supporter as a kid? Well, they weren't around when you were a kid, were they? So
I was a Bulldogs supporter.
Bulldogs,
Kev.
were you?
Yeah, Bulldogs supporter and a Valley supporter.
Yeah, Brisbane Valleys.
When I was a young bloke, and the old man supported Parramatta in the glory days. So.
Right. Do you remember? So you remember the Newcastle game? I can. It's
remember,
clear as day to me.
Yeah, I remember it too. I
Well,
remember
tell us
Willie. We roomed together.
Yeah.
And Willie thought that we had to bring our own food.
Well, he got told. To be fair to Willie, that when you're away, you've got to bring your own food to eat. And Willie's a tight ass. So what'd Willie do?
He's ripped out the baked beans.
Yeah, at the airport, trying to get through the.
And then he was blowing up because they didn't have the pull ring in there.
Yeah, you had to put the can opener.
So he wanted the can opener, and he's going through the drawer. And I said, "What are you doing, mate?" And he said, "Oh, fucking, they said you got to bring your own food." And I said, "No, mate." I said, "We actually go down to the room."
There's a meal provided.
I don't know who set him up, but it was a beauty.
Yeah, I think it was Tony Curry. It might have been that set him up.
Yeah.
TC.
Nervous were you? I mean, you obviously you played a lot of football, and I suspect because of you being a police officer, fear would not be something that you'd be able to learn because of what you have to do, the nature of your job. But playing first grade rugby league, it's a whole different scenario. So how was that?
It was I didn't have a lot of time to think of it because I got rung on the Saturday morning and we played on the Sunday.
Oh, was that late? Was it?
Yeah, and so you got rung on the Saturday, you're playing on the Sunday, not a lot of time to think about it. They were pretty good back then, the Knights, weren't they? Like at that stage, they were, there's some hard nuts in there.
They were pretty good side.
And I just couldn't believe that the guys I was at school,
you
idolise, you're playing with them. And it was like it was an unbelievable time. And and I'm very grateful for the opportunity because, as I said, I didn't play really any rep footy coming through juniors other than the local Cairns team or whatever.
It would have been pretty crazy for you getting dressed, and you got Gene Miles and Alfie.
Crazy.
Getting
King.
Wally was.
Wally wasn't there, gone.
He was still there, but I think he was injured or something.
So who was a 5'8" that day?
A young bloke called Walters, Kevie
Walters.
Yeah,
right. He went
I think
all
I put you over for a couple of tries, actually. No,
Can we go to the highlights?
No. So what do you remember about the game? You scored 3 tries. You must have been pretty proud.
Oh, it sort of went so fast. It was just, it was obviously the ideal debut. And you just think it's going to keep coming, mate. I suppose that's what you always think is, how easy is this? And, But one thing footy does, like policing, mate, you always get a reality check as you go.
You get a
on
level
with
off,
time.
don't you?
You do, mate.
Yeah.
You think you're going well at something, and then something happens and intervenes. So it can be, if you get overconfident, it can bring you back pretty quick, I reckon.
Yeah. Did you get overconfident, do you think?
I think a lot of stuff happened for me really quickly.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't really appreciate it.
Because how old were you when you made your...
I was 20.
20, right.
Yeah, and then I was 20, turning 20. No, I only just turned 20, I believe. Or was I 19? I forget.
Yeah.
Because I think I played in April, so I would have been 19 turning 20.
Yeah, right.
And you make your first grade debut at fullback for the Broncos.
Yeah.
And a year later, so you get through that, a year later, you're an Origin player and you've played for your country. Like, and you're 21, is that right? Like, 21, you played 3 Origins and played for your country.
Because Origin sort of went the same way too, because we were up at the Broncos fan day at the Adamoga pub, and I think it was Bobby Cutmore from memory, the old, the brick phone. With
Yeah.
I got a phone. Oh, there's a phone. It's the chairman of selectors on the phone.
Is it Dud Beatty?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going into camp, mate. Badge is crook. He's hurt himself, and you got to get into the travel lodge as soon as you can. Get home, get in your car, get home, pack a bag, and get to the travel lodge.
Wow.
And then Badge pulled out on the Monday morning, and then I was playing on the Wednesday. And
Graham Lowe that was the coach?
he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your memories of Graham Lowe?
Alf putting heaps on him on the bus. Alf was trying to impersonate him all the time. He didn't realise that Lowe had got on the bus before him one day. And Alf's doing the old, you're playing really well. He's talk like, but you got these things hanging off you.
Nuts and bolts.
And next minute, everyone's tapping Alf going, But he didn't care.
It's only Alf could get away with that, hey?
Same with Wayne, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Calling him long neck. And like the rest of us, I used to call Wayne Mr. Bennett.
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson goes, "What are you calling him Mr. Bennett for?"
Yeah.
So, it's my dad always said, you got to call someone by their, by Mr. until they tell
Tell
you
you,
otherwise.
yeah, that's exactly right.
And they always get a bit of joy, a bit of a laugh out of it. I was calling Wayne Mr. Bennett.
You mentioned Peter Jackson there. Have you got a favourite Peter Jackson story?
Oh, just when I was a young bloke, and you never know what's really going on behind the scenes. But I remember Jacko, like, he'd just turn up to training from wherever, and you have all the dried white stuff. The boys get
my Landermouth
from being on the soup all night.
Yeah.
And but Jacko was just a guy who I think everyone just enjoyed being around. I just had really good memories of him. He used to tell me old cop stories of, getting man of the match when he'd gone sick at work.
Yeah.
But he'd get caught on a motorbike. Just all the stuff. He used to tell great stories, Jacko, and I wasn't as close to him as probably you guys were, but he just made you feel welcome.
Can I just remind you, he loved playing with you. I always remember Jacko talking about you because you stood out from everyone else. You're 6 foot. How tall are you?
6'6", but I think I'm on the shrink now.
Oh, yeah. One thing's, no one's going to catch you, mate. 6'6", 6'7", whatever it was. And I remember he used to call you the big Hauff. He loved playing with you.
Yeah.
And that Origin, your debut. So you didn't have much time with the Broncos. You're playing the next day. Yep. Origin pretty similar. So you got dragged in on the Monday, and you're playing Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was unbelievable because that was on the night it was the 8th of May, and then the 9th of May was my 21st birthday, and I was fortunate enough. You shouldn't talk about this too often, but I got voted players' player as well. So it was.
Why can't you talk about that, mate?
Well, it was unbelievable. Oh, well, you don't.
Well, you scored a try, mate, in that game.
No, that was third game.
Oh, right, okay. So what do you remember about your debut for Queensland then?
Oh, just the people I was playing with again, mate. It was just and what I say you take for granted when you're a player at that age. You think it's going to go on forever, but I didn't really appreciate the people and the ability and how good they were until you finish playing.
Yeah.
And then you sit back and you watch and you hate the Bronx for the first few years when you don't play anymore because they're going, but then you're
going well without you.
Yeah, but then you get back into it and just I played with that guy, played with the King, with Mal, with
not
Alf,
only play with them,
you starred with them at the rep level.
It was pretty short-lived though.
But only that's through no doing of yourself. You got some injuries.
Oh
right?
yeah, but I did lose a lot of confidence too. But
yeah.
So can I ask you that first Origin game? You're not even 21. It blows my mind, this kind of stuff. You're sitting there and you talk about the calibre of players. What was it like running out? Like, is it still, you'd remember that kind of stuff? And then the question off the back of that is, How soon after you have that jubilation do you have to go back and put the holster on and go back on the tools doing the police beat?
Well, I was fortunate enough, most of the time the next day, if you played on the weekend, but in the regards to the Origin, I'd taken some leave without pay because I had a chat to Wayne because I was having trouble coping with the two, going to work, 8 hours, racing to training home, eat, sleep, go to work. It's the same cycle. So I took 6 months off because I was at the crossroads where I wasn't, I wouldn't say I wasn't enjoying it, I was just finding it hard to cope. And Kevie knows what footy's all about. To play first grade, you've got to do extras. And I just wasn't having any time to do those extra things that the other people develop in their game, and that's what makes them get to that elite
100%,
level.
100%, mate. You got obviously a lot of talent, but most of us had jobs where the next day didn't really matter. Whereas you're a policeman.
Yeah.
So you had to line up in your uniform and be expected to ready to go.
Yeah, most days. I used to work at the Inala Shopping Centre back then, so they looked after me, but it was still a busy place, as you can imagine.
People recognise you. You've scored a try and one for the Broncos, and next thing you're policing the next day. Did you ever cop any chirp? Like, was there ever people like, oh, that can't be the same bloke I saw on the TV, or who's the Broncos at that stage?
What I'll say about Inala people is they love the Broncos, mate, and they all, but they chirp when you play bad.
Yeah.
They're all, you hear all the background noise and he's useless, he's this, he's that, but most of them are very supportive. Like the local sort of word gets around, the Bronco coppers works at the Inala Shopping Centre, and it just goes from there. So there's a bit of positive and negative, but most of it was pretty positive, I reckon.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, one of my favourite moments of playing with you was the try you scored against the Raiders. Do you remember that try?
The old shoe came off.
Yeah.
With badge. Yeah.
Oh, I just remember it because Alf brings the ball across the field and I sort of dropped off, not wanting the ball. And he just passed it. Alf gets a bit of credit for this, but Alf had nothing to do with Hauffy's try.
So was that Laurie Daly you put the step on? Laurie Daly was playing in the centre. Am I right in saying I saw that footage you sent through last night, Kevin? Like I was watching it and I was like, and I remember growing up, but mate, Laurie broke his ankle practically. You put a step on Laurie Daly.
Yeah.
Well, I was on the bench that game too.
Oh, you didn't start?
No, Rowdy did, I think.
Dale Shearer, fullback.
Yeah, he started and Wayne brought me in off the bench. And then I came on, I think, I forget how long to go. Yeah, but Alf, he gave me that little bit of space, and I sort of, in your own ability, one-on-one, I knew with my step and my stride.
Your step was amazing.
I could get around most people with that, unless they predict which way you're going to step, and then you run into one another. But you don't sort of look at the player you're trying to get around, you just sort of back yourself and then it happens and you're like, how did that happen? And then just getting around badge, and it was just like, it sort of put us in front. And then but there still had to be a lot of defence and hold on with, I think, about the last 10, 15 minutes. So
I think that was maybe one of the first times we actually beat Canberra in regular season.
Geez, that battle between the Broncos and Canberra
was
back
huge.
there. That they were the two premier clubs. Like you can say Penrith won the comp in '91. You can talk about, but if you look at football, and it was Canberra and Brisbane, they were the two. Like that was the rivalry.
Well, that was the grand final that they never ever got. Really, was it? Raiders Broncos through the early '90s, particularly, but never happened. So what was your first? So I think you won the Rookie of the Year that year. The Broncos. Did you and Willie tied?
Tied. Used to be on the bottle cap of the 4X trivia.
Oh, was it?
Because most people would guess one name, but it was two names.
Yeah, right.
So,
Oh, that's something I never. Do you
No, I didn't know that at all.
And you drink a lot of 4X. Let's be fair.
I'm hard. It's not to anymore. But anyway,
Right. So you get through the first. You think, how easy is this? You're balancing a police career. The Broncos have got an affinity with. There's been a lot of players. Peter Jackson was one. Wayne was
the benchmark, wasn't he?
Did Wayne? Was that connection through Wayne with the police? Obviously through the.
Well, he worked at the academy for years before he went down to Canberra. But he obviously would have given the police away at some stage. But he's very well known for most of the guys now who are retiring. They all remember Wayne from when he was at the academy and they were there. The newer ones, Wayne, obviously, because Wayne wasn't there, but they remember how hard nosed he was.
So that's where you did your cadetship at the Oxley Police Academy.
Absolutely, yep.
And how long were you there for to be a police?
18 months.
18 months.
Then. So you went straight from year 12 straight into the police academy.
And you always wanted to be a policeman?
Not really.
No.
I got accepted into teaching, but then I just didn't want to. I for some reason. I just thought it'd be too hard because you can't do anything to them.
Harder than a policeman.
At least you can grab someone and say you're under arrest or whatever. But with school kids, you can't really go, summary justice type vigilante behaviour.
Hey, so you get through, and like at 21, you've played 3 Origins, you've played for your country, you're a first grader at the Broncos. Life is, you won Rookie of the Year. And you talk about it, most 21-year-olds don't have that happen. So in your mindset at that stage, Hauffy, what was the thought? I'm going to go on, I'm going to be a 300 gamer. I'm interested to know because obviously we'll get to it, it's well documented with the shoulder and everything like that. But what's your mindset coming out of that after playing for your country and at 21 years of age?
Well, I was hopeful I'd have a long career, and in that time, I thought I did. I thought this was, things were going pretty smoothly.
Well, they were, mate.
It was a dream. It was like I was living a dream, and I was just so fortunate to be picked up by such a good organisation at the time. Reeves and all those people at the helm, and Wayne. You can't. I don't know what everyone else's his relationship is with Wayne, but he knows how to treat. To talk to people.
Yeah, whether it's you, whether it's Alf, whether it's me, whether it's Willie Kahn.
Yeah, I think I was very fortunate because if I wasn't with such a successful group of people, I think it could have been totally different.
Well, I disagree because you're an unbelievably talented footballer, and your results reflect that. And you've been involved in a short career at the Broncos and also State of Origin. And you played for Australia as well, the old one test wonder, Hauffy.
Two. First and last.
But you were involved in one of the most famous incidents in Origin history. So talk us, Mark Guy, when Mark Guy got sin bin.
Sin bin, yeah.
Him and Wally were going to punch on, but it was you that copped the...
Yeah.
So tell us about that. What's your memories of... That was Origin 2 in Sydney.
Yeah, it was a bit wet. I just remember MG just jumping out of the line, and I thought, I'm gone here. Because he was a pretty scary guy.
He was. He had a free-for-all ticket, didn't he?
Yeah, I think, New
South Wales.
He'd been given the pass, become a lunatic. Yeah.
There was something in his water that night, that's for sure. And the elbow came up, and you sort of try and protect yourself, but it's going to hit you anyway. But I was actually lucky enough where it sort of hit, but the force it didn't really go flush. Off. And I just remember, and I feel bad about this, and sorry to MG about this, but all I can remember is the boys telling me, I won't name names, just to stay down.
Yeah.
Right. He'll be off. We're going to didn't even get a penalty. Got nothing. So I spent all this time pretending like
you were hurt.
But it could have been catastrophic in reality, but it was just one of those things.
He just missed you, didn't he? I don't know how he missed it.
And then I think it was just Wally was just wanted a piece of him then. And I don't know if the game went on for a minute or so more before half time, but then they had the big stoush walking off and the ref had to separate.
You're on your feet by then? And
yeah. And then I did feel bad about it later because by reports, MG's, he's a really nice fellow.
He's a great fellow.
Great fellow, yeah.
So it's one of those things. And I was young, you got some senior blokes. I won't name anyone, but Wally was probably one of them. They're all telling me just to stay down.
Stay down.
We'll get a penalty. Good. We'll get out of trouble here because they were down on our line and stuff. I think we were coming out of trouble. And so it was a pretty infamous night.
So New South Wales win game 2 to level the series.
They kicked the
Michael O'Connor.
Michael O'Connor from the sideline.
Kicks again. Yeah, because we were up most of the game.
Were you at the game, Dobbo?
Yeah, I was at the game.
Yeah, they scored at the end, and then he put the...
In the rain, remember?
Yeah.
The rain.
Yeah.
SFS. That's the old SFS.
Stadium,
Good place to play there, wasn't it?
Great stadium, yeah.
Great stadium.
So up to game 3, the decider, Wally's last game. What are your memories there? Do you remember walking... Do you remember how you used to get into the Old Lane Park?
Caxton Street or the...
Yeah, in through the bar? Yeah. How was that? You remember, Doc?
No, I never saw it.
Well, tell us about that, Hauffy.
First of all, the bus comes down Caxton Street.
Yeah, good.
It's just crazy. I know they can't do it today because of the safety risks, and especially for the New South Wales buses that comes down. But it's just that thing of you just... it's just hard to play bad, mate. You know, because you're just so. But you've got to be careful not to play the game before you get out there, because there's so much hype behind it. It's obviously followed more. I think it's followed more today, but I think it still meant the same to people. Yeah. And you just didn't want to let people down, mate. And I remember Wally after game 2. He said, he said to me, mate, you know, which was. He always treated Willie and I really well, Wally. You know, so I'm always thankful for that. He used to criticise our cars. Parking.
What sort of car did you have?
I had a Kingswood, and Willie had the Datsun 120Y.
120Y, you beauty.
And I don't think he liked it when we'd get the good spots early to training. But no, just Wally he sort of said to me, mate, you've done a really good job. You'll be there for the third as long as you're injury-free. And that was just such an endorsement for me. I was just so chuffed by it. Probably the greatest player ever put on a Origin jersey is telling me that I'm going to be there for the third game, the decider. And once again, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, but do you remember walking through remember the bus used to pull up out, so there's no underneath parking, Dobbo?
Yeah.
You used to have to
walk through.
Get off on Castle Main Street and walk through
a bar. Into the sheds.
Into the sheds.
You can imagine the New South Wales players walking through that. Yeah. Blokes on the drink since lunchtime, just giving it to them. They'd psych you out of a win as it was. But and from a Queenslander's point of view, it's just amazing. The back slapping, you know.
Yeah. It was.
It's just. And Graham Lowe was the coach. He was an interesting character, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was different. He was a bit more complicated. Like Wayne's very simple messaged. When you'd play, he'd give you like 3 things to do and make it very simple for you. But Graham was I would say he was more intense than Wayne was. Yeah. Because really I only had a few coaches. You know, I had Ivan Henjak for a bit in reserve grade and Billy Gardner, but only for a few games. But Wayne was probably, you know, the
clearly
main
the
coach.
standout.
But, look, he was just different. He doesn't, I don't know, he just seems to do things
easily.
I think people overcomplicate the game, mate, and how they talk to players. Yeah. We're not marine biologists or rocket scientists or whatever, you know. It's a pretty simple game. It's a simple game. And blokes try and overcomplicate it. Yeah.
Righto, so what are some memories of the game in Origin 3?
Well, obviously I was lucky enough to get a try. Mel was cranky that night. I remember that.
Was that the night when he got us all? When he got you all in the circle? Was that? No, that was a different night.
No, because he was getting up me all the time. I said I wanted you here. You get to there, and I hadn't seen that in the first two games. But there was a lot of hype. I think everyone just wanted to do it. I didn't really understand what was going on with Wally. I knew his daughter had a problem. Yeah. But when you're my age, you're like, whatever. You know, it doesn't really impact on you. But it was just a really good way for Wally to go out, and I wasn't, a massive part of that for him. There was obviously the players that had started in 1980, the whole trek, and through the whole years, and it's still probably, the pinnacle of rugby league every year.
Yeah,
so it was just one of those games where we thought we were in it, but then, you just never know. You're always nervous with that last, and I think they had a couple of opportunities to score late.
Yep.
Rowdy scored Dale Shearer scored a good try. Mel got a conversion. Yeah. I'm sure it was Rowdy.
It was Rowdy, because I was sitting on the bench with Rowdy. Right, so the Queensland backline, you're at fullback. Mick Hancock was on one wing. Was
Willie Kahn.
Willie Kahn, the other wing.
Yeah.
Then you had Mal in the centres. Yeah. Mal Meninga, and do you remember who the other centre was?
Would have been Jacko.
Peter Jackson. Yep.
Wow.
Then you got Wally at 5'8" and Alf at 8. That's a pretty good back line.
Fair back line.
And then throw in that forward pack, mate. Bob Lindner packing into lock. What a great player.
Stevie Walters was the hooker that night as well. Kerrod, I think he got suspended or something, Kerrod.
Yeah.
Stephen was in there.
I think I played all 3 with Steve.
You did, yeah.
In 91.
Yeah, definitely. And then Wally announces after it's his last game. So it was pretty sad, wasn't it?
It was. It was very sad. But I was just so fortunate to play. That team you just named.
Wow.
It's just...
Well, Dale Shearer was on the bench with me.
You forget how good, you just touched on something, how good Bob Lindner was. Like, you forget how good a footballer Bob Lindner was. He was unbelievable, mate. Like, and when you name it and you talk about that, to play in Wally's last ever game of Origin, that you can't ever take that away. Can we go to the next year? Can we just talk about from there the next year? Like... I mean, some say Julian O'Neill. I say, what happened? Was it a form or was it the shoulder injury? What was the issue?
So at the end of night, so during the Origin series, I had a few of those. In game one, the shoulder was the right one, actually, not the left. Started to. Remember, I put my arm out one time, and sometimes your arm gets
hyperextended or something.
Caught, and it sort of. I felt it go a little bit, and it came out slightly, but it went back in. So I knew the first game in '91, I was starting to have problems with my shoulder, but I was able to get through the season, and then I was having. During the pre-season at the end of going into 92, I was having more problems with it. And I remember we were doing some pre-training, went over at Kelvin Grove, we'd run the golf course. And
with Kelvin Giles.
Yeah, he was hard, man.
Oh.
Yeah, he was ruthless. But, obviously that was a turning point for the club as well, getting him on board.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think it was a bit of both, Dobbo. I think the reality is I could sit here and blame injuries, but I think form and my mentally, I don't know. I just think I didn't trust the process of how I could get over things. I remember having a chat to you. You might back when at the beginning of '92, I started playing like a little bit. I was playing a little bit ordinary early on.
I don't remember you ever playing ordinary, but yeah,
we're in the dressing room together. We're the last two to go, and you asked me if I was okay, and I remember saying, "Oh yeah, my form's not great, mate. I'm really struggling to."
Yep.
I'm good during the week, but I'm getting to game day and
not enjoying the game day
experience.
Yep.
And you were just telling me, mate, just hang in there. It's second year. That second year blues, as they call it, for a lot of young punters that play. And then I had to have the shoulder. I had the so in the off season I had the little arthroscope. So
just to have a look in there, see if anything is wrong.
They patched up a few things, and I was. They said it'd be good to go, and then against Adelaide down at
I remember it.
St George at Adelaide.
Yep.
Jimmy Bannigan, he often says I'm the only bloke that he's ever seen dislocate his shoulder when they play the national anthem.
Oh, good old Jimmy!
Because the ball was in the in goal, and I remember going down, and I was just trying to flick it over the. And
dead ball, yeah.
It just fell out.
Popped out. I remember it vividly.
It just fell out.
It just not even getting hit.
Shoulder fell out.
Yeah.
And I was devastated because I knew what was going to come next, which was going to be the reconstruction. Yeah. So that happened in May.
Yeah, it was round. I think I got it round 8. I think it was.
Yeah. And it was just really disappointing because I did the work to get back with the shoulder, and then it went, and then I was sort of pretty much I was gone then, and then Julian came in, and he to his credit, mate, he played good football, mate.
He did, Julian.
Lights out.
He did. It would have been very difficult to oust him, even if I could have come back early with the way the team were playing and he was playing. And then I remember '93. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
So '93, I was in reserve grade, and it wasn't.
So you started the year in reserve grade. Julian was the fullback.
Yeah, I did. I played a handful of games that year. My form was terrible. I was just lucky that reputation holds on to you for a little bit.
Well, you've earned that right as well, because you did have had played for state and country and
first grade,
really well,
great,
yeah. So I only played a handful of games in '93. And then you just won again, back to back. I was on the extended bench, but didn't
get on.
No, there was too many blokes earned that right throughout the year for that. Then '94, I was finally getting back to form. I got back into first grade. I was playing fullback, starting to play some really good footy. And then Greg Florimo did one of those really low tackles on me when I was going to step and did the cruciate in my right knee.
Yeah.
So the ACL went, and that was another season gone in '94. So I was pretty much, the confidence was at an all-time low.
Yeah.
My head, the headspace, because there's probably a lot more available to people today to go and
in that space, go and see and get some help.
Yeah.
Did you have a few demons? Was there a few demons about what what are you, 20? You're 24, 24. Like 24 is so young, and you'd had a shoulder reco and then an ACL. Played, but you can't replay for that. But you sort of at a bit of a crossroad.
Yeah, because the second shoulder operation, I was told after the initial arthroscope, then if I did the shoulder again, that'd be Peter Myers used to do all the surgery back then. He just sort of said it'll be difficult to do a second reco. Like, it can be done, but.
Not something we.
But when the knee went, I just was. I was just you're devastated again because you put in the work, you get back, because 93 was a write-off. Mate, I wouldn't have been, fair income, it was fraud, me picking up the paycheck. But 94, I got my head right and I thought I was good to go, and then you're playing well and then the knee went, and it's just things you can't control. And mentally I was shot, because even when the body, I got back the following year, I just never had the confidence in my body anymore.
To stand up.
Yeah, when you're playing fullback too, I don't know if you have experienced this with injuries, Kev. I was playing disgracefully in reserve grade.
Oh, yeah.
It was terrible, mate. And I was trying to position myself at fullback to give them more of the open side, because I knew I had speed to get most people and get them over to that left side, but I was giving them too much space, or I was overcompensating, trying to keep things off my right hand. In my mind, I was trying to do things that just really bad positioning.
Yeah,
play.
which made it more difficult for you to execute.
Oh, and then when they come through, you get caught out, mate. And even kicks and stuff. I stopped. I reckon there was points where I just didn't compete. I really lost that thing that got me to where I was, just competing for things. And I just went through a difficult time. And you hope it's going to end, and you have a good training week, and then you play on the weekend.
Yeah, mate. Well, that's a good lesson for everyone out there.
Yeah,
it's not rugby league is not all smooth. So, like, there's some tough moments for you. You're only, how old were you? 24.
Well, I was 24 then.
Yeah. And no support around you with any of that, except Wayne Bennett, who might have suspected something was wrong.
But but he does. He tried his best, and it was up. At the end of the day, mate, people can take you to the water, mate, but you've got to drink it, haven't you? You've got to turn it around. It's all about, you got to make the decision to turn it around. But I sort of knew on a funny point in 95, I knew things were going to be difficult for me, because once Darren Lockyer got in that team, and I was made captain of reserve grade, I knew. I sort of knew when Ivan said, "Oh, mate, I'm going to take it off Johnny Driscoll. I think I'm going to give the captaincy to you."
It must have been a proud moment for you.
Oh, the family really loved it. We celebrated like an Origin win. And I sort of knew then I had to make a decision at the end of 95 that how was I getting back into that team? How was the reality of, you got to face, you don't like what happens, but I'm glad to say I was replaced by, when Julian got the spot. Yeah, great player.
So it was Julian had moved on too, hadn't he? Julian had left the club.
He hit a few hurdles.
It wasn't form that got Julian moved on from.
He hit a few hurdles.
We won't go there in this pod. We've got to get Julian on, Big Jules. Yeah. You're out there, mate. We love our number ones.
He hit a few hurdles, but he would have had a long career there as well. But Darren Lockyer,
he was elite. He was straight. He was unbelievable.
Thankfully, he can play fullback as well as 5'8". Otherwise, I would have been mowed over too.
Oh. Yeah, no, you were pretty safe, mate. You and Alf putting Pearl claims he's the elite centre. You were putting him into those gaps
the whole time.
Come on, you got to tell him. Let's tell him.
Pearl knows that. Hey, what was your professional career away from it like? With all this heartache, juggling it, were you still working, trying to work as a police officer? And because you're so competitive, I suspect that you were just a constable there. You'd want to be going up the food chain in the police force as well.
Yeah, well, I remember when I did my knee, I had the 6 weeks off work, but then I just had the leg brace on, and I just went back to work.
Yeah.
And I was working at the shopping centre,
hobbling around.
Straight lines, no. Deviation and...
what if there's a chase on? You would have been in trouble.
Help. You, pull the roller door down, Kev. Back in 5. But, look, the sick leave program's a lot better today with the police than it used to be, because there was either you stayed at home or you went to work, but now there's suitable duties and all different things. They can put you in different areas while you're injured to help your recovery. But I always the reason I got promoted to the spot to I got promoted to sergeant very early, but I've never really had aspirations to be the commissioner or get to commission rank. And I think it's always a proud thing to say that you're a frontline police officer.
100%, mate. Yeah.
We have a joke at work that because the operational police wear the dark blues and the bureaucrats wear the light blues.
Right.
So, and I never really saw myself as being, the commissioned officer or the person that would because I always think that the longer you're off the road, the less you know what's going on the road. And I think young people today are really looking for, regardless of what they do, they look for leadership, mate. They need to know that the people around them, above them, have got their back.
Yeah. And they've done it, and they've been in the trenches with them.
They're still doing it with them. Yeah. And it's I'm getting on a bit now, and I don't probably. The young ones have to jump the fences and chase the. Yeah. You just drive the car around the other street.
You know where they're running.
They have all these maps now. You can map where everyone is.
You still love it?
I love the people. I love going to work, and and the community. Unfortunately, you see things. I've seen a lot of stuff in the job that you can't unsee, and it stays with you. The first child death you go to, and the traumatic ones of people taking their own life, and it's always very traumatic. You got to disassociate yourself from it, but you can't be too. But it does affect you over time.
Yeah.
And I said to Kevie on the phone, I just clicked over 37 years in the police.
Amazing, mate. Just really proud of that, hey?
Oh, it's a good effort. I wish everyone was proud of it. All the people.
Well, you should be proud, and I think
we certainly are.
Yeah,
mate,
our frontline services. That's without you, we're stuffed.
Yeah, most police join for the right reasons, mate. Most of them are in it. Like anywhere, mate. You get
any industry,
you get a few bad eggs.
You get a few bad ones, and they normally get found out and moved on. Don't
they do, or they just move themselves because they get the feeling that the other people around them.
They know what.
Yeah, it's like in teams, mate.
They work it out.
Guys get to work out that it's time to move on.
Because you're working shift work now, aren't you?
Yeah, I do. I've done shift work for a long time now. So I'm on 2 o'clock this half, 2 till 10. So I'll be the shifty out in our patrol area.
Yeah. Do you like doing the days or the nights, or you don't have a preference?
More excitement at night time.
Is there?
But
that's a good way of putting it.
There's less. I think sleep's the big thing that kills you. And then next week I go into I got the 10p shifts, so that's sort of, it's not good for family life, work. But my kids are growing up, and I think Sam enjoys it because it's a bit of,
She gets her own bit of
it doesn't have me bugging her all the time and doing silly things.
Hauffy, you're a bit of a cult hero, and not
100%.
like now, our generation, everybody calls you the Hauff. You were a great, and bloke to play 51. So you would know that, and you would hear it as much as, in a lot of ways, you probably feel, oh, gee whiz, I could have done more in the league game through circumstance. You are a cult hero in the rugby league community. Do you feel that? And when people want to talk to you and get a photo with you, and you're still very much, like when Kev said we've got you in here, even me was like, I said to Das, I said, mate, one of the greats, do you get that still?
Well, yeah. It's funny you say it, because I don't look at myself as that, and it's...
Well, you're very humble, but...
Oh, I try to be.
Yeah.
Because I just think the alternative's not very good. Because the old man never liked big noters and show-offs and stuff, and he said that's a big thing. He said you got to remember to be humble, because the alternative's not very good.
No, but you had, as Dobbo said, and you'd still get recognised now, surely, around the place.
It's mainly not the young ones don't, but
no.
you go to the jobs and you'll introduce yourself. It does happen, and you'll go, oh yeah, Paul Hauff from Mount. Not the Paul Hauff that used to play. And there's a funny joke to that. So I was working with a guy one night, and his name's Chris Randall. He's not in the job anymore. He went on to bigger and better things. And we went to 3 jobs. And each time, the bloke at the job said, Paul Hauff. Not the Paul. So it happened 3 times. The Paul Hauff.
And the one night.
So for my 50th birthday, my mates bought me TPH number plates.
The Paul
Hauff. And 1-4 because that was my debut number.
Right.
So it's always been my favourite. When I played first grade against
number
the Knights,
14,
I wore number because I was in reserve grade.
Oh, jeez.
So I wore number 14.
Oh, I never.
And
I
so that was
that,
why.
yeah.
So I haven't put them on the car yet.
Oh, get them on the car.
It was just, it's one of those. It's funny when you say, "Does it happen?" It does happen, but it's rarer now because of the age gap with young ones.
Well, and the footy's more on television now. You did play for Australia too, mate, didn't you?
Yeah,
one game. How was that? That was against New Zealand, was it?
It was. We lost.
Yeah. Was that in Melbourne, that game?
It was in Melbourne, Olympic Park, and I
didn't have such a good night that night.
I thought I had a reasonable first half, but it went the opposite way in the second. And and I had my fingers crossed I'd get another chance because obviously they flogged them in the next 2 games. I think they put Eddinghausen into fullback.
Right. Bozo, who was the coach?
Yeah, Bob Fulton. Then I think Willie came in on the wing.
Yeah.
To vacate, to look in.
But it must have been still, all in all, great experience for you.
It was
lining up and they played the anthem. Did your mum and dad and that go down? Or?
No, they didn't go down. I can remember. I could tell you how long ago it was that my original footy coach in Cairns sent me a telegram. They still had telegrams.
Right. Wow.
So I got a telegram. It come to the room, and from my first. His name was Lindenberg. I can't remember his first name, but yeah, he was my first coach in Cairns. So
what's your footy connection now? Do you still watch the game? Did you coach your kids, or what's?
I've got 2 girls, so
football. Yeah,
but I love. I tell Kev I love watching Foxtel.
Yeah.
KO, I think it's on now, but they do. It's I watch most of the footy through there. I think the.
Do you go to the games much?
No. You
don't?
I got offered to go to the game now. I'm just not a fan of the crowds, mate.
Well, they'd be all over you, mate. They'd love you.
Oh, no, they wouldn't.
They would be, mate. Of course they would.
No, I just, I support the Broncos. I think it's just that they're going through a bit of a rough patch. I think they've got to get back their old identity.
Yeah, certainly.
What they stand for, mate.
Can I ask you this, and he won't talk about this, but you played for that Broncos brand, and when the talk is that they're going to try and rebrand the brand. Now, Gordy on the weekend, he said to me that he wanted to wear the Broncos jersey because of the jersey that Wally Lewis wore and that Broncos logo. Does it mean that much to you guys when you see they're going to try and rebrand this club when you had the original Bronco brand, the jersey you played in?
Yeah, I think. Look, I'm not a business person, right? But I just think you can't focus on the. It's got to be about what's going to be. Is the brand going to make them play any better? Is it a chain, or is it just a commercial entity thing for promotion of to raise revenue? Because to me, that's the same thing. It's that I just think the Broncos need to get that. When I played, you could, and Kevie knows what we're talking about here. That teams feared playing the Broncos.
Yeah. And
they feared coming to Lane Park. They hated playing us on our home ground. Today, I don't think they care. Actually, that's my belief.
Yeah. Well, they don't. I've spoken to people.
I just think
if anything, it's motivating for them.
I just think they don't have the fear that Lazarus, Gilmeister, Hone, Can, Ryan. that forward
Hauff.
That forward pack we had. That and that back line. Alf, Kevie, Pearl, Johnsy, Hancock, Khan, Lockyer. I just think today for me. Sorry, I'm getting emotional about that.
No. It's so true because Kev talks about it as well, and it was a fortress. You didn't want to come to Brisbane, and you knew if you played Brisbane, and that brand meant everything. That to you guys, you gave blood. Like a lot of you blokes gave blood to that brand, and then to change it is a commercial decision. They want to evolve and attract more people, and it's more dollars, but.
Doesn't help the playing.
Well, it's not a footy club then. It's not a football club, which the Broncos were built. They were a footy club first. That's how I looked at it.
They still are a footy club, mate. That's what the Broncos are.
But I'm saying they're going away from that.
I agree with you. Yeah, 100%.
And I remember I got asked, sorry to use Dave Fafita as an example, but when he moved from the Broncos to the Titans, Crash Craddock, I used to go to coffee occasionally at the club and watch training. And he said, what do you think about it? And I said, mate, at the end of the day, money is the reward for being motivated. If you're not motivated to play for that brand, that club with those players, you're not going to perform.
No.
They can pay as much as they want, but if you're playing good football, you will get rewarded financially regardless. But you should never jump for money.
No.
On its own, there's obviously other factors to take into it, but I just think that, I often say to people that I think they get paid too much today.
Yeah. How much, you might mind me asking, what was your biggest contract at the Broncos?
My biggest was $65,000, and that was after I'd played for Australia.
Yeah, right.
It was 60 the first year, 65 the second, but I was 2.5, 7.5.
So you were playing for Queensland and Australia?
Well, when I played for Queensland, I was on $7,500.
And you got a $1,500 matchy for Queensland, was it 15 or 2?
And then I got the immediate, because it was written in those days, because there was no...
if you play for Queensland, you get it.
And then, you remember, like the contracts, because there was no salary cap, it was 10 first grade games, 10 grand bonus, 15, 20, 20,000 bonus. Yeah. So the incentives were there, and obviously we all love getting that.
1,500 or 692.
792, wasn't
792,
it? 792 in the little paper envelope.
So we used to have a Monday club, Dobbo. So they used to... So match payment of $792 cash. $1,500 to win, which time you take tax out, it was...
$792, and that was in an envelope.
Pick it up on a Monday, yeah.
How good.
And I remember a lot of players just giving their envelope to Hauffy from the weekend where they'd spent the money already or whatever in Sydney. But not Willie Kahn or not this fella. They're always good with their coin.
I'd never a gambler or a drinker, mate.
What don't you like about London, mate? You didn't last long there. Went to the London Broncos.
Went to London Broncos. I got to be respectful about what I say about that. Barry Marina gave a few of us an opportunity to. He obviously put his dollars on the line to try and get them up and running. Myself, Box, and Terry Madison, a few of us went over. It was just really difficult for me because you move so far. You're used to such a
good environment and
really nice. The Broncos were pretty much, although they've come a long way professionally, I'd imagine it was an elite club back then, and then to go to that, and for me, I just wasn't happy with
mediocre.
Well, things I was offered and weren't. Things I was told were going to happen didn't happen in my contract and stuff, and I don't want to be too hard on Barry because he's I got a lot of respect for anyone who started the original Broncos, so I don't want to say anything bad about him. And I just he gave the ultimatum that if people weren't happy, that he wasn't holding anyone against their liberty, and so I just wrote a letter and resigned.
You took the offer up
and come home, and then I went to Adelaide.
The Rams.
Yeah. Yeah, went to there and didn't get off the ground that year. So
no, it did it? Because Super League was meant to happen. And so what? You actually moved into a house in Adelaide?
Yeah, well, Mrs. and I went into a townhouse. No kids then, so we just moved down to there, and we loved Adelaide. It was
it's a great city.
Yeah,
city of churches, mate. You should have got married down there.
No one knows you. Yeah,
it was. But they had a good little setup down there.
Yeah, the Rams.
I was disappointed because Kerrod went there.
He went there, yeah.
I was disappointed it didn't work for them because I felt they had the foundation because they really tried to set it up right, and it was it was a good environment. We had Rod Reddy was the coach. He was different to Wayne. Obviously from the Brian Smith mould.
Yeah,
everything's
structured.
And that was a difficult thing for me.
Yeah, because you love the freedom of just being able to play.
Well, that's what I think what made Elf, with his creativity, so good. There was no playbook for Elf. Elf just saw something was on, he'd just do it.
He just went for it, yeah.
And I think that's probably the problem today with a lot of the game too. People are put into a structure rather than just free-flowing football.
Yeah, so you went to Adelaide.
Yeah.
Was that 96 for the 97 season? Or?
No, so early 96 I came home from England.
Yep.
And then I went, pretty much, I got home, I was only home for a couple of weeks.
And they signed
straight down to, mate, I like to, I don't know how you got on with Reeves. But
I love Reeves.
Reeves was a man of his word, mate.
Yep.
And I didn't need to sign anything. He just rang me out of because I told Wayne because I came, when I came home I rang Wayne. And Wayne said, I'll give Reeves a call and I'll give him your number. So Reeves rang me and said, mate, I haven't got much for you. He rattled off a couple of clubs I could go to, but it wasn't the Broncos. And I said, mate, I'll go. He said, if you go to Adelaide, dangled the carrot.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'll go. So I went to Adelaide and it was just another good opportunity.
Yeah.
And Reeves, I hadn't signed anything. He just said, I'll give you this, this, this and this. And when I got down there and signed the contract, everything we agreed to was done. And it was really disappointing that we didn't get off the ground, that the New South Wales Rugby League got the injunction, I think it was.
They did.
If I've called them by the right title.
Yeah, that was it.
I came home, back home, because then we had to keep playing for the rest of the year. And then Wayne just said, you can come back, mate, but you'll just be playing Reggie's. You won't. Yeah. And I felt bad about that because, the old Mick DeVere, who was just playing, he'd been playing the house down in Reggie's for a few years, and I felt like I was filling the the reputation thing again.
Yeah.
I was taking up a position that should have been filled by another bloke who was really destined to,
Well, hungry,
ready.
mate.
Yeah, really.
But he hung in, Chief, and he got there. He got there in Maybury.
He was always going to. Kevie will tell you.
Yeah.
Worked harder than anybody else.
Yeah, he's champion. Yeah, champion fella.
What do you spend? I'm fascinated with this. You get $1,500. What can you remember? Like what you spent your first $1,500 on? Like that was your first wage, or was it just survival?
I remember when you get your bonus paid July and October.
Yeah,
didn't
too.
we?
Yeah.
I bought a car. I know that much.
Not that car that Wally didn't like you.
No. The Kingswood. Mick Hancock reckons that it was great entertainment when I used it as a trade at Motorama at Maruka. The sales blokes couldn't believe it. The radio was hanging out on the wires.
So what'd you buy?
I got a Commodore, mate.
Right.
VN Commodore. And then I had to use, Reeves gave me an advance, so I was able to. So in October, I got a bit less money.
Right, but you had the Commodore. What colour car? Red? Red Commodore, the old red Commodore.
Fancy wheels on it. Waste of money.
Now, do you know, I keep saying how much I love painting. You know that Alf put you in his book. So he picked his best 13, and you're the fullback in that book.
Was that before he retired or after he retired?
No, that was before he retired, yeah.
Yeah.
After he retired, yeah. So that's like you're a very humble person, but mate, had you not anyway, you got some injuries and that sort of finished your career for you. But mate, you underestimate how good you actually were. Honestly,
thanks, Kev. But I did read. My old man pointed that out to me about Alf's book, and it's very humbling for a bloke of his stature to think that. Of me. So
I'm going to quote you here, mate. Hauffy this is Alfie's words, Hauffy made you feel safe with him at the back. Always had so much confidence in when the ball was kicked to him, the way he brought the ball back was unbelievable. There you go, mate. From Alfie. I think it's well said.
The fullbacks are expected to be ball. It's definitely a different role today, eh?
Oh, it is, but you would have adjusted, mate. You
it.
got good skills. He used to catch him behind his back, this fella.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And what about the high kick? Like now, who would you be kicking for?
Yeah, you wouldn't be kicking him. Yeah. Who was your opposition? Was Mullins? Was Mullins coming through? I mean, 91 Mullins was.
I just remember blokes like Gary Jack and. Who played fullback? It was mainly I think Brandy played fullback for
one game,
of the Origin stuff.
Yeah.
And
Gary Belcher would have been a big.
Mate, he was really. He was sort of one of those guys that he always took time after the game to have a chat to me.
Say hello.
We swapped jerseys one day at the. They beat us at the Sydney Footy Stadium in the major semi to go into the GF. I think again that was against the Panthers. That would have been against the Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mel steamrolled over the top of me and scored. I wouldn't be the only one that had happened to.
No.
But after that, I think it was after that game, Badge and I, we swapped jerseys. So I've still got that at home. It's
cool, mate.
Prized possession.
You got a favourite footy memory?
Definitely the 91 Origin series, mate.
Yeah.
It was, I still look back on it very fondly, and the people that gave me the opportunity, I'm always very thankful. And just the players that I got to play with, mate. It was.
Have you still got your jerseys?
I got all three of them still. Well, I swapped one with Brandy.
That's right.
And we used to have this thing. I'd give them to the girls to put on when on
Origin
night. And the daughter got one out because you put them in the cryovac, the vacuum bag thing. She took one out, and all the name just crumpled off. But one thing I will say about how tight the QRL must have been back when I replaced Badge. When you look really carefully, you can see
his name
underneath mine.
They peeled the name off and put a new name on.
Over the top, straight over the top with that plasticky PVC type. You Belcher.
Oh,
you can see
dear.
So, which I'm proud of too. That's not bad following that bloke into a game.
Bloody unreal.
Very good, mate. Well, I think everyone would agree. It's great to have you on the show, mate, on the podcast. But we've got one question for you before you go. Now, we're sponsored by
Kratzmann
Caravans, and they want to know, and we want to know, where your favourite holiday destination is.
Well, Australia, I love going to Burleigh Heads.
Yep. Get down the Burleigh Pavdy and...
I do. I go there, but not for the reason you might go there. Very family orientated.
Yes,
I go get pizza and a couple of drinks upstairs there. But I love going to we got some friends over in Texas that used to own businesses in my local area where I live at Graceville, and they pulled up stumps, moved over there, and we try and go over and see them.
Is that your shirt there? Is that
yeah,
what that
mate,
means?
that's it. So we have this thing, it's called the Hauff and Montfort, because that's their name, Reunion, and we've gone over there twice since they moved, and we do up stickers as well. So we put stickers on public landmarks. And we went back to them, and there was still one that had the sticker. The council or the whoever looks after it hadn't cleaned the one off from the year before, and we put the new one, the 2025, right beside it.
Oh,
so good.
That's pretty cool.
And then she sent us a photo to show us it was still there the other day.
So you said they're coffee. They got coffee shops.
Yeah, they run. It's called the Aussie Grind.
Right, because they would be doing really well over there because the American coffee.
Oh, it's rubbish. It's rubbish. I've always wondered why Australians don't go to America and just take over the coffee world. Like they've just got to be able to. Anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right, mate. They just saw a market for it, and they always wanted to live in the States. I reckon they've always been those people who had a dream. They used to visit there a lot, so. And they went to Texas, mate.
Righto.
Frisco.
You're going to go anywhere?
Go to Frisco.
That's
It's where they do America's Sweethearts. That's where they film the Dallas cheerleaders, mate. Straight out of Frisco.
Yeah, Mark Carroll.
Yeah, she's going to make her debut, isn't she?
Next year.
Next year she's on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This year, as in this year.
No, next season. Next season.
They've got the 2024 ones on now.
Oh, they're
she got cut. She got cut this time, but
right.
She might be right.
2025s, yeah. They
She'll be right to go.
Whatever it's on, mate, they're a bit behind.
Yeah.
Righto. Obviously, you mentioned about the coach. What about one of your favourite players? Was Willie your favourite teammate?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he probably was my favourite teammate.
Do you still talk to Willie, mate?
Yeah. I catch up with him. I saw him at the.
You a real estate agent?
No, he's a warden.
He's a wardsman
at one of the hospitals. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, you could imagine Willie too. Eh? If one of the old people or someone was giving him a bit of lip on the trolley, he'd bump it into the wall.
Oh, he's a character, Willie.
No, Willie. We caught up at the Twong Shopping Centre. There's a couple of coffee shops in there, so we don't see one another that often. But he's
a great fella. Will.
He is a great fella. He loves you and Alf. He loves Alf stories.
Yeah,
he loves Alf secretly.
You got a favourite footy story you can share with us?
With Willie.
No, just whatever you got, mate.
I got funny footy story. I don't really have much for you, mate.
I think you've told us enough on the show, mate.
Yeah.
You've done a great job. Thanks for coming on.
Mate,
we love you, big fella. The big Hauff.
It's been a pleasure, Kevin. Thanks for reaching out, mate, and getting me on the show. And Dobbo, thanks.
Good on you.
I really enjoyed it, mate.
Good stuff.
Perfect.
There you go, folks. The Hauff. The real Hauff.
The real Hauff.